Hi everyone, it's Phil here from Ashland Leather, and I've got about 40 different private stock wallets and other items that I'm really excited to show you. And before we get to the private stock items, I wanted to give you a little look at some of the items that we're shipping out today. And I've noticed that I haven't been doing a good job including our watch straps in the videos. So we're going to lead off with the watch straps first today. This is a denim blue shell cordovan two-piece watch strap. We can make the watch straps in a bunch of different sizes from 18 up to 24 millimeters. And here's another really neat watch strap. This is also a blue shell piece, but this is the raw denim, and it might be a good opportunity to compare and contrast the denim blue shell on the left with the raw denim on the right. You'll probably notice immediately the luster difference. On the regular shell is much more bright and shiny, where the raw denim is a little bit more of a matte finish. We also make Apple watch bands, and check out this one here. This is a reverse ultraviolet, and I love the dye marks on the reverse side of the ultraviolet shell cordovan. This is one of those types of pieces when people come to the shop and they see the reverse ultraviolet. This is one that people tend to gravitate towards. You'll also notice on this Apple watch band that the hardware is black. We also do a silver finish buckle. So either way you want it, I like to do it to match your watch. So my watch is more of like a gray black color, so I do the black hardware on my watch. But there's also these silver finish buckles here. Check out this piece of black reverse shell, and the black reverse ranges in color. This one has a really interesting sort of greenish tan. Sometimes it's a little bit darker, more forest green color. Here's another green looking watch band, but this is actually the marbled black shell cordovan, and the marbled black shells tend to range from a little bit more of like a forest green to sometimes more orangey tan that you can see towards the top of this watch strap here. Here's another marbled black shell strap, but this is in a two-piece strap, and this one appears to be 18 millimeters. So not only can we do the different lug width sizes from 18 up to 24 millimeters, but we do different lengths. This is a 120 millimeter on the adjustment side here and 80 millimeter on the buckle side, but we can also make a short version of the strap where it's 105 millimeters by 75. Here's another watch band. This one is in the garnet shell cordovan. This is the most red color that Horween makes. A lot of people like to accent the details in their watches. So if you have a little bit of red numbering or maybe red arms on your watch to sort of accent it with a red strap. And here's another green strap, although this one is actually green shell. And this green shell cordovan does not have that sort of color range like you see in the marbled black shell from the orange to green. It's just more of a flat dark green, nor does it have that randomization that the reverse black shell cordovan has. And the last watch strap to show you today, this is a black shell cordovan two-piece strap. This one appears to be 22 millimeters in a short length. And the black shell is super sleek looking. I wanted to compare the black and green shells together because sometimes this green, when you look at it by itself, doesn't really appear green. But when you put that green shell cordovan next to anything black, you can really see those green tones come out. And let's have a look at some of the wallets that we're shipping out today. This is a Fat Herbie in natural chrome excel, and check out the figuring on the outside of this. There's incredible grain character on this piece of natural chrome excel. Really enjoy looking at these natural chrome excel Herbies because you get such a large context of the leather. And let's take a look at the inside where we have more of that figuring on the grain. Here's another really special piece. Check out the color and luster of this denim blue shell cordovan Bugs Moran. We actually made a small batch of these because the shells were just too nice to not make them special into a special drop. But take a look at the color range. Some angles it's a little bit more of that vibrant aqua blue, and other angles it appears a little bit more navy. And that's just a really nice piece of shell. I'll give you a look at the inside where we have more of the denim blue shell cordovan. Again, we do have a small batch of these. I think we have a couple left. So if you're into one of these, we have these available on the flash sale page. Here we have a Frank the Enforcer in my favorite shell cordovan color. This is the amaretto shell cordovan, and the amaretto shell has this really cool color range from sort of a light orangey tan, and some angles it gets a little bit more brown and red. So I like sort of just spinning it and observing how the color shifts. And two more wallets to show you that we're shipping out today. This Johnny the Fox here is a beautiful piece of English tan Dublin, and it's been personalized for JS. Thank you so much, JS. Take a look at the figuring on your Johnny the Fox coming your way. We also have the English tan Dublin on the inside of this wallet. I love this 100% English tan Johnny the Fox. Is actually our best-selling wallet right now. And here's another bestseller. This one is also in the Dublin leather, but this is in the black color. And for me, the black Dublin is the best black leather you can get. It's the only one that I've found that has any amount of natural character to it. So if you look really closely here, you can see all the fine detail in the grain. Most black leathers are just really heavily painted and finished over, where the black Dublin from Horween is very much naturally finished. It's what you might call an aniline finish, where they use more stains than paint. And you get a nice natural grain character like you can see on the back left here. On the inside of this one, we have a horsehide latigo that's custom made for us to be really, really thin, extra strong, and then have great aging characteristics. All right, let's get into some of the private stock wallets here. And all of the private stock things that I'm about to show you will be available on the website at 5 p.m. Central Time tomorrow. That's April 2nd at 5 p.m. Central. And let's start off first looking at some Johnny the Foxes. This is the first appearance ever of a marbled black shell cordovan Johnny the Fox, and a 100% version of that. We've never seen this before on the inside. And this is a really interesting black marbled piece. It's a little bit more red and orange than a lot of the marbled black shells that I see. So this one will be available on the website starting tomorrow along with all the other stuff. Here's another really interesting Johnny the Fox with a color combination. On the outside of this guy, we have color 8 Chromexcel, and this is some Chromexcel that we've sort of been hoarding for the last few years just because it's so nice. And Danae has paired the inside of this with some mock horsehide latigo. And I really love this combination of the color 8 Chromexcel with that mock horsehide. It's sort of like a burgundy and tan look. Here's another really neat Johnny the Fox. This leather on the outside here is called Blue Rockford. It's kind of similar to the Dublin leather from Horween, but it's a little less firm and a little less dense than the Dublin, but it does have more vibrancy to it. So you get this really vibrant, vivid blue shade and that waxy feel and a little bit of a burst effect because of the wax finish that's been applied to it. Take a look at the inside here. Whiskey shell cordovan on the inside of this one. And that's a beautiful piece of whiskey shell. And then next, Johnny the Fox to show you. This is actually a raw denim shell cordovan piece on a Johnny the Fox. Take a look at this little bit of figuring in the shell there. I think that is really neat. And I love the raw denim because it's this nice blue shade. It starts off a little bit matte, but if you like a patina, if you like to see your wallet and your leathers change around you, I highly suggest the raw natural or any of the raw shells. So this raw denim will age incredibly. It will get darker, brighter, and shinier. Take a look at the inside of this one. It's another shell interior that we don't see very often. This is amaretto shell cordovan, and we've contrasted that with some of this purpley blue stitching. And the last fox in the private stock event here, this is actually a version of our Johnny the Fox that we call the Jumbo Fox. It's a little bit bigger, but let's take a look first at this beautiful piece of black shell on the exterior of this Jumbo Fox. That is a really, really nice, bright, shiny, smooth piece of shell. Got some nice stained and finished edges on this guy, but here's the inside. This is the part that's a little bit different than the Johnny the Fox. We have 2 additional card holders, one on each side for the interior. We still do have those hidden card slots underneath. The other thing that is different on the Jumbo Fox is we have this extra bill slot divider right here. And I have a brand new prototype item here. This is a single piece of leather on a card holder, and I'm really happy with this minimalist design. It's just one big continuous piece of shell cordovan with the card holders on the inside. I just really like the way that these turned edges look that make those card holders on the inside. This one is in the raw denim shell cordovan, so we get a little bit of that aqua blue shade. Here's another one-piece card holder, but this one is in ultraviolet shell cordovan. And this ultraviolet is really, really nice. Take a look where the undertones are a little bit more of this magenta sort of pink color. And then the overtones are a little bit more purple. Here's a look at the inside. We've cut a nice Horween ink stamp right into the center. And of course we have this nice border stitch around all of it. And here's the third one-piece card holder. This is in some Western whiskey shell cordovan. And I just love the Western texture. That's actually my favorite texture that Horween does. We give you a look at the inside of this guy too. And then I have 3 Capone money clips. This one might look familiar. We actually did a making of video of one that was very similar to this, where we have the black Western shell cordovan on top of some garnet shell cordovan on the exterior of this wallet. I'll give you a look at the full outside here. It's really nice pieces of shell on this guy. And then the inside, we've got Western garnet on the right and color 8 reverse on the left. We're actually able to include a couple Horween ink stamps on this piece. Here's another Capone. This one sort of stunned me when I first saw it. I really like this combination of the English tan with teal latigo. I think that turned out really well. And we've applied a little bit of this contrasting teal stitch to sort of bring it all together on the outside of this wallet. We've continued that same look on the inside here, where you have English tan Dublin card holders with teal latigo. This is actually the reverse side of the teal latigo in the center. And here's another Capone that I really like. This one turned out great. This is color 8 shell cordovan with a Scotch grain texture. And a little bit of difference on this one is we have this brass finished money clip. And take a look at the inside. I think this is where it shines. We got the Horween ink stamp in the center, this brass clip that sort of appears more of just like a golden color, which is really nice. And then more of these color 8 Scotch grain card holders in shell cordovan on the left and right. And we're also including some really special Apple Watch bands in the private stock event. This one is hand stitched with a burgundy thread, and this is actually color 8 reverse shell cordovan. I really like the extra dye splatter on this piece. Here's another one in ultraviolet shell cordovan, also hand stitched with a matching ultraviolet stitch. For some reason, something about this one really speaks to me. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I think this one's actually my favorite from everything we're doing in the private stock event. Here's another Apple Watch band with a contrasting sort of beige stitch on the dark green shell cordovan. Really like how this one turned out, but we've actually lined it with an additional piece of leather on the back, so you get this nice green and tan combination. Here's another Apple Watch band with a cool color combo. We've got some black chrome excel on the outside here with this blue stitching, and take a look on the underside. We've actually got an additional layer of chrome excel underneath, so this is a 2-layer strap with that contrasting blue stitch. I'll give you a look at the adjustment side here. And here's an intense blue shell cordovan Apple Watch band. It might appear black. It's because the intense blue is a very dark shade, but this has definite undertones of a little bit more of an aqua blue. This one is really neat. Take a look at this orange and navy combo. It's kind of like Chicago Bears colors. And take a look at the backside here where we've lined this with some orange latigo also to continue sort of that navy and orange combo. And they have 2 NATO straps to show you here. This first one is in black shell cordovan with a contrasting red stitching. And this one's also 20 millimeters. We've been doing some small runs of NATO straps. I'm going to start including them a little bit more frequently in the private stock events. And here's another NATO strap. Matt actually made this one all stealthed out. So we've got black shell cordovan with black stained edges. All the hardware is black on this, and it also has a black hand stitch. So I'm really excited about this NATO. I've always loved a blacked out sort of stealth look on any of our wallets and watch straps. And I have a couple brand new keychain clips. These are actually the first 2 prototypes that we ever did just before we started doing production. We're planning to release these within the next week or so. So we've got extra thick English tan Dublin, and this part snaps off and you can wrap it around your belt loop if you like. I actually put just my keys on this end and I'll clip this to my belt. So we have 2 versions of this in the private stock event. This is actually the hardware that we're choosing for our production. It's a little bit more of a classic look with this hook. And here's the other version. It's kind of like a little bit more of a modern hook to it, which some people might like. So we have one of each of these available. And we're back to some wallets. I've got a really beautiful tall Tony the Ant here in an incredible piece of garnet shell cordovan. Take a look at how smooth and bright and shiny this piece of garnet shell is. And I like this tall Tony option because it keeps a really clean back. We actually originally started doing the tall Tony because people that were using yen and euros, those notes stuck out a little bit of the thumb notch. So we made this go all the way to the top for some of our international customers. We also have some more garnet shell cordovan on the interior of this tall Tony. Here's a cool prototype Bugs Moran. This is the Western texture on some denim blue shell cordovan. It has really vibrant undertones on this particular piece. What's a little bit different about this, guys, we've included a snap closure for the inside. This is a prototype that we've only done this one of. So if you're interested in this one, I think it actually works quite well. The cards fit in there very easily. We've also got some raw denim shell on the left and right, and we have some reverse blue shell on the top. This one also is hand stitched. So we've got a lot going on this one to make it extra special for the private stock event. Here's another hand stitched Bugs Moran. Take a look at this beautiful piece of English tan Dublin, and we've got this lighter blue stitching that's been hand stitched in the outside. That's a chunkier thread look. I only suggest the hand stitching to people if they like that extra thick look, because we do charge a little bit more for all the hand stitching. And take a look at the inside here. We've got some brown chrome excel on some ink blue Cavalier. This is a version of the chrome excel. It's a little less oil content, so they're able to get a little bit more vibrant colors. And this one with that blue stitching around the outside, I think really pulls it all together. Up next here, this is another really special Bugs Moran, and this is the first time I've seen the raw black black shell cordovan. So it doesn't have that same amount of bright, shiny luster as a normal shell. It's got a little bit more of a raw look. And it's really, really cool. So I'm glad to see this one. And on the inside of this Bugs Moran, we've actually got the vertical card slot orientations on the left and on the right. And we've contrasted that raw black with some natural shell. Here's a really cool Bugs Moran. This one is also hand stitched, but this is a green shell cordovan with a pink stitch on the outside. I'm really happy with this one. Amir wanted to call this one the Kermit, which I'm vetoing that, but I think it turned out really well. Take a look at the inside. More green shell cordovan with pink border hand stitching. Here's a little bit more of a clean vibe. This is a Tony the Ant in a remarkable piece of whiskey shell cordovan. Just look at how nice and smooth, bright and shiny that piece of shell is. On the inside, we've got more whiskey shell cordovan. This is a nice palette cleanser for me after seeing a bunch of different color combos. Here's another piece of the raw denim shell cordovan. This is on the Tony the Ant this time. You can see the raw denim has this little bit more of a matte finish, a nice vibrant blue shade. And on the inside, we've paired that with some natural, raw natural on the inside. So we've got raw blue on the outside, raw natural on the inside. Here's another one of those Western wallets, but this is a tall Tony with the Western color 8. And that's a really cool look with this huge piece of shell on the outside. On the inside here, we've got some Western whiskey, which is a tongue twister. Try saying that 10 times fast, but this is a really cool tall Tony. I have another tall Tony here. This one is black shell cordovan. Take a look at that shell. Really bright, shiny, mirror-like finish on all the shells. That's how it should be. On the inside of this guy, we've got reverse black shell cordovan, and this one is extra thick. So I'll be noting this one on the site, that we've got an extra thick, tall Tony the Ant. Another Tony the Ant here. This is a really special leather on the outside. This is the horse strip. These are pit tanned alongside of the shell cordovan, and this one has been stained to a brown color. And I love the sort of figuring and texture appearance. I'm trying to not reflect the light because it's really bright and shiny. It's hard for me to show just how interesting this piece of leather is. But take a look at those lighter little caramel colored valleys with a little bit more of like a coffee colored peaks. That's a really neat piece. On the center here, it's got some natural shell with some interesting sort of quilting figuring to complement the figuring on the strip piece on the back. And on the inside, we've got more of those same leathers with the raw natural and that horse strip. And this one also is hand stitched with an olive green stitch. And the last of our Tony the Ants is another tall Tony in the Western Ultraviolet. Take a look at this purple shade. It's got really interesting color depth to it, where some angles are a little bit more purple and the undertones are a little bit more magenta. It's really, really beautiful. And the dyes that we use on the edge of this are actually the same color stains that Horween uses to apply to the ultraviolet shells. This is where it gets extra special. Because we have this tall Tony design, we were able to do this centerpiece a little bit differently to keep more of a continuous look across the center. I have a couple more ultraviolet, reverse ultraviolet, and even a new raw ultraviolet piece to show you. This is a machine gun jack here in the ultraviolet shell cordovan. We actually have a few of these. This is a wallet that we don't currently make and offer as a standard item on our site right now, but I'm thinking about bringing it back. People are really into this look. It holds cards on the inside here, and the pattern piece is one huge piece of a symmetrical pattern. And I like this snap closure. It's more of a minimalist design. Here's another ultraviolet piece, but this is the reverse ultraviolet where we get to see all these random dye marks and all the splatter. I think this one turned out really well. This is a prototype card holder. We have a card holder on the front, a card holder on the back, and this larger slot in the center, all with the little thumb notches. And this is a piece of the raw ultraviolet. So you can see it has a little bit less shine to it. It's more of a matte finish, which is really neat, but the color is a little bit more vibrant and vivid on all of the raw shells, including this raw ultraviolet. And we're gonna wrap up the private stock event with some beautiful fat Herbies. And just a friendly reminder, all these items are gonna be available tomorrow, April 2nd at 5 p.m. Central Time. You can find it on the flash sale page of ashlandleather.com. Take a look at this piece. This is really crazy. So we've got a texture on some color 8 shell cordovan, and then they marbled it. So this is like a marbled boxboard texture. That is really neat. We get these little bits of color of orange that range to a little bit more of that classic burgundy color in the color 8. We've got that on top of some reverse shell. So let's see what that is on the inside here. We've got some color 8 shell cordovan on the inside with reverse color 8 shell cordovan card holders with some really nice dye marks on the left and right. Check out this guy. This kind of reminds me of the psychedelic shell, but it's not. It's a little different. We've got green dye marks and these sort of reddish brown dye marks. They're really interesting. I don't think I've seen many reverse pieces of shell that look like this, and it looks like we've got some marbled cigar from the middle piece here. Take a look at the inside. This must be all reverse marbled cigar or something, because that's why these die marks are so unique looking. Typically we don't see this, but we've got these reverse pieces on the interior. This is another really special Fat Herbie. Kind of reminds me of the same vibe of the psychedelic shell, just with different colors applied. And here's another Fat Herbie with some leather that is 80 years old. This is the 1940s calf skin on the Fat Herbie, and this one has a really interesting texture to it. The sort of figuring of these lines going this direction, and it's got a little bit more pebbling on this particular piece of that blonde 1940s calf. That is really neat, and it looks like we've got that on top of some color 4 shell cordovan, which is really beautiful. And on the inside here, take a look at this. This is some reverse shell cordovan that's been hand glazed, and we've got hidden card slots and a hand stitch for all this. So the card slot dividers here on the left and right are burgundy hand stitch, and then we've got this sort of cream color hand stitch along all of the outside. This is a really unique Fat Herbie. Here's another great looking Fat Herbie. All reverse color 8 shell on the outside with extra nice die splatter and die mark, and a great bold Horween ink stamp right in the center. Take a look at the inside here. We've got raw amaretto shell cordovan on top of that color 8 shell cordovan in the center. We haven't seen a lot of the raw amaretto, but I really like it. I think this might be my next wallet color. Here's another great color combo, natural shell cordovan with this olive green stitching along the outside. And I really like this green and brown color combo together. I actually put some green laces on my brown Chrome XL 1000 mile boots. I really like how they look. Take a look at the interior. Black reverse shell cordovan on the left and right to play off some of that olive green stitching. Here's another unique treasure. This is the football leather, but this is a different version of the football. They actually call it hammered football, where the peaks of the football texture have actually been hammered off. So they don't have like a round peak, they're sort of flattened off. And you get a little bit of a different look on the hammered football. And in the center here, color 8 shell cordovan, we've got a red stitching along the outside. And on the inside here, we have some beautiful garnet shell cordovan. This is the most red color shell that Horween makes. It's really, really nice, the garnet shells that we've been cutting from. Take a look at when I angle it this way, it's a lot more ruby red and a little bit more brown in this direction. And here's a variant on our Fat Herbie. This is something we call the World Traveler. It's designed for passports. On the outside here, we have a leather called Latigo in the color Regatta Blue. That's a really nice leather. I really like the Latigo. And on the inside, we've got 3 different colors. We've got some whiskey shell cordovan on the right. It's a little darker than most whiskey shells. On the left, we've got some reverse blue shell that's a little bit more green. And then the reverse side of that blue Latigo in the center. On the right side here, this flap has been left open to accommodate a passport. Here's one of the most interesting pieces of English tan Dublin that I've ever seen. And we've got the color range, the full color range that I see on the Dublin represented on the outside of this wallet here. So on the bottom, both of these pieces are English tan Dublin, but this is the darkest that I ever see it get on the bottom. And then on the top here, this is about as light as I see it come. So you'll notice the figuring and the sort of like quilted pattern on the outside of this, just incredible grain character and texture on this particular piece of English tan Dublin. Let's look at the inside. We've got some blue Rockford leather. This is that waxy feel. It's a little bit more vibrant than the Dublin leather. And we've got English tan Dublin hidden card slots. All right, here's the last item for the private stock sale. This is another version on that Fat Herbie, the World Traveler, with a really interesting piece of color 8 reverse. And on this reverse piece, we have all these random die marks, a little bit of die sort of puddling pools that I think are really fascinating. Let's take a look at the inside, where we have some tumbled natural shell on the left and right. But on the left side here, we have this really interesting figure 8 brand, and then color 8 shell in the center, of course. We leave this flap open. We don't stitch it down, so you can put a passport or even a field notes underneath that side, and you can put some normal credit cards on the right. So thanks again for checking out all the private stock wallets and watch straps and other accessories. Really excited about everything in the batch. Just as a reminder, everything will be available on ashlandleather.com under the flash sale page of that website tomorrow, April 2nd at 5 o'clock p.m. Central Time, where you can find this crazy Fat Herbie on the site then. So thanks again. Hope you have a great day and take care.